I'm actually a little intimidated by her, so I wasn't sure if I was going to be nervous, but I mean, she's got a resume,
well,
you know?
We kind of blow it up a little bit. No. It's all true, but, it was a long time ago. No.
Good morning, starting Tuesday off right. Good morning, get ready to take flight. Good morning, talking about the earth things. Good morning, it's me and me from the winds. From the winds.
Hi, my name is Reba Hervis, Artistic Director at Overshadowed Theatrical Productions. Welcome to this week's episode, From the Wings. And I am super excited to have a guest star with us here today, Mimi Sagadin.
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for asking me.
I'm so excited to just kind of get to talk to you and pick your brain. And I have a lot of facts about you that I love. I think that I'm going to let you tell a little bit about yourself, but I want to tell what my favorite part is. There are two of them.
Okay.
There's one of them that you had a privilege to work with, Ken Davenport, which I love Ken. I'm signed up. I take a class with him called, I'm a part of the Theater Makers.
Yes.
And so we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But I also love that you were in Provision Theater's Hiding Place.
Yes.
And then also you were in the movie Return to the Hiding Place. You
one
have
led into the other.
Very strong connection with Corrie ten Boom,
Yes,
right?
I do.
So we will spend a little bit of time talking about those things, but in the meantime, can you just kind of summarize your life in a paragraph? Is that possible?
No. But I didn't start acting until I was in my 30s, actually. I didn't know that I could be an actress, but always had that desire. And when I became a Christian in my early 20s, I was looking for an alternative to hang out and do fun things, and somebody suggested a Christian theater called, not Overshadowed, this is many moons ago, it's called Nightlight. And I just volunteered there as a hostess.
Now, is that around here?
It was in Chicago.
Really? I've never heard of them.
Well,
Did they
this
exist?
was not anymore.
Okay.
This was back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
And I volunteered there, and always wanted to be on stage, but I never hung around with people that were into theater or acting, but I always had that little girl desire. Anyway, one of my friends that I met there was one of the actresses, and because of her encouragement, she said, "Why can't you be an actress too?" I was like, because I never heard those words before. I was like, well, because yeah, let's do it. So we became really close friends, and we embarked on a year-long program called the Players Workshop of the Second City. It was Second City's original training ground for improv. And we did that for a year, and we both had the deep desire to use our arts to reclaim the arts for Jesus Christ, and to use
Amen.
our art to just befriend people in the industry. And that was a journey of 8 years. After we graduated, we had our own improv troupe called Mission Improbable for 8 years.
Get out!
And we did clean comedy. That was a thing.
Ooh.
Because there wasn't a lot of clean comedy. We did a lot of coffee houses, and I was a young mom at the time, and that was a challenge. God really impressed upon me, and still does. This is what I share with a lot of my young people in the industry, is that God needs to be first in this industry, then your family. If you're married, it's your husband, then your children, and then your craft. And it's very difficult because we love our craft so much that we just, where's the next audition and this and that. And I've gone through peaks and valleys. But anyway, I was able to pursue what I loved and bring my kids along to the rehearsals and such. And so that was my start. And from there, I always had a deep desire, though, for filmmaking. I loved the behind the scenes, and I loved movie magic. And I started to do, as my kids got older, I started to do extra work. And that led into bigger projects. And probably like my biggest experience in film was I got cast as Emma Thompson's stand-in in 2005 called Stranger Than Fiction. And I was on a huge, big budget Hollywood movie set for 5 weeks.
Wow.
And I worked alongside her and Dustin Hoffman and Will Ferrell, and I was
Oh my goodness, how fun!
and I knew it was so amazing because you have a lot of downtime in film, as you do, with theater too. You're backstage, you're offset, and I was working with another stand-in who was Queen Latifah Stanlin, and she was a Christian too.
Oh my
and
goodness!
So we would pray on behind the scenes, and it was just an amazing experience. And so I always knew God was calling me to an ambassador for Christ in the industry. So that was my beginning, and then things started to fall into place after that, and then I got cast.
I have so many questions to ask you. I don't even know where to begin first because I'm just so excited about this. But let's I guess go to the beginning of the basics of how you knew that, like, why did being a Christian connect with being the arts, and how did that start your journey?
Yeah, I know exactly how. My best friend Maggie, to this day, who I met at the Nightlight, she and I just had this passion to use. We loved the Lord, we loved acting, and so we encouraged each other, went through our training for improv, and then we heard about this new Christian conference for the arts called Caritas, and that was probably about 30 years ago, and we attended the first one, and the theme that year was, I'll never forget, we were sitting in the balcony, and the main speaker was talking about reclaiming the arts for Jesus Christ, and we almost fell off of our seats. We're like, what? Yes, we're not the only ones thinking like this.
That's what I feel like sometimes, like I'm the only one. So this is so exciting.
No. And this was 30 years ago when
Does that group even,
happening.
does that conference?
We just disbanded. I was part of it for almost 25 years.
I met you too late.
Yeah. No, you didn't.
Okay.
We're just starting, girl.
Right.
We got
Okay,
a lot,
good.
Got a lot
Good.
of life left.
I love it.
Yeah.
So there
was our affirmation from the Lord, meeting like-minded artists that were not only in theater, because the film wasn't even a thing then. It was theater and dance, music. Music was just getting. When you think about it, I don't know if you'll remember when music was just subpar in the Christian.
Yes,
right
100%,
genre.
where it was definitely not quality.
Right? And look where it's at now.
It's amazing.
And it's kind of where theater and
films. Do you remember when Christian films were just like, no, I can't recommend that because that's not good art.
Yes.
It's cheesy and it's a fake storyline, and that's not the way it is to be a Christian. And
that's where my heart is really there. I still see a lot of that, unfortunately, in film. And I know it's difficult, but my passion is for my unsaved loved ones and family to see a film that has a Christian theme that doesn't have the bow tied up at the end. That's not cheesy.
That's what I say all the time. It's like Christians, it doesn't mean that just because you get saved, your life is going to be wrapped up in the... Yeah, well, amen. I love all of that. So then first of all, I'm super sad that organization doesn't exist anymore because I would love to be part of it. Let's start it again. Let's go back. You and me together, girl.
I was a part of it for a long time, and it was really, we felt like we actually, Caritas was called Caritas, and it was for a weekend. There were workshops in all the different disciplines: music, art, visual arts, acting, film, drama, and but we felt that we accomplished our mission.
Yeah.
And
okay.
And so it was beautiful though. For the worship was amazing, the music and the worship and dance. I love to dance too, and we would dance for the Lord like David, and it was really beautiful. So,
oh my goodness!
But we need that as artists. We need that encouragement. We need to fulfill that that creativity that we have in us, and to be able to let it out. I
tell people all the time, our God is a creator. He's an artist.
He is.
And so He gives us these talents and abilities, but He wants us to use them for Him, right? And I feel like, and you probably have done this in your organization as well, but I feel like the reason things got so dark in the entertainment industry is because Christians left it
Yeah.
because they felt like, oh, this is bad, this is frightening, we need to not be a
Yes.
part of it. So we took the light out of
We
it,
did.
and
We
now
did.
we have to bring it back into the darkness, and it's a long road.
Yeah, that was my passion when I first got in the film. I really wanted to be used in secular
Yeah.
productions because they need the Lord.
Right.
Everybody that doesn't know Jesus, and He's the Lord, but especially in Hollywood, and the bigger budget films and the actors that we hear just so much negativity about. They need Jesus. That's why it was so cool when I got on that big budget film called Stranger Than Fiction. I got a chance to share my faith in different ways. Emma Thompson gave me her glasses to hold during a scene, and I'm holding her glasses and I'm praying over her glasses. Emma, if you're watching, just stuff that they might seem trivial, but to me, I took it really seriously. I knew I was my term that I use is that, we're ambassadors for Christ in our art. And so there's all these opportunities just to pour into people's lives, that aren't in a Christian film or a Christian theater. So there's a place for that, where actors feel led to be, or if they feel led to be in either or, Christian and secular. And some Christians just want to do a Christian production. Yeah. So
I do think that there are places for we obviously Overshadow doesn't do all Christian things, as you know, from
Right.
Murder on the Orient Express. But I do believe that there are some people that maybe that's the right place for them because it's a safer place for them. So as a Christian, one of the things that I talk about all the time is that we need to have, before we decide to go into a part, we need to know what for us is the line that we will not cross.
Yes.
Do you feel that way as well?
Absolutely. And I hear that from other Christian artists. That you have to have your boundaries. You have to know what it is you're going to do and not going to do. And
because Satan's sitting right here going,
right
it's
there.
okay, girlfriend, it's okay, do it.
I've had to make some hard decisions that made me sad that I couldn't be involved. And every project is different, and so you really have to. You just have to pray about it. Ask a wise Christian friend, and the Lord will show you. And there's some people that can do tough roles, but their faith is strong, and we need Christians in that industry. So
right.
it's for each individual.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Do you have I know you told me before we started rolling that there's something that really excited you, a project that you worked on a lot, but do you have a favorite role that you've ever done?
No.
Nobody has those. Yes.
No, my favorite role in A Miracle from God was that I got cast as Corey ten Boom.
So amazing.
Like, what? I still think, like, what? I did? And I got to film in Amsterdam, in her home. So that was just God's kiss to me to say, you're doing what I want you to do.
Yeah.
And so the way that it happened, though, is I was in the production of The Hiding Place. And are you familiar with Provision Theater?
I actually went to see that production.
You did?
Yes.
Do you remember me?
Well, all I remember is I think it's short. I went to preview night or to one of the first ones, and it was like 4 hours long or something, right?
But you shouldn't remember me because I had 3 lines in a 3-hour film, a 3-hour production. I was just a concentration camp
But
prisoner.
they saw you from that, and okay, whatever. So okay, tell us, we all want to know.
So it's wild how things work out. I mean, I was cast in this was Equity, which was a big deal because Equity is union.
Is Provision all equity? Do they?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. So I became an Equity member candidate, they call it. And it just looks good on your resume. But nonetheless, it was just a great production. That they had 30 cast members. It was a lot. But I was cast as a concentration camp prisoner with, I think, 3 little lines. But I was thrilled to be involved with it. But during that, I remember it was actually this time of year. During that period, one of the actresses heard about a movie that was in pre-production called Return to the Hiding Place. And I don't know, she reached out to them and said, listen, we're in Chicago. This was out in Texas. We have been involved with, rehearsing this play, getting dialect coaching. I mean, we're all ready to go. Would you be interested in auditioning us? This is even before self-tapes, like right before self-tapes. And they agreed to have us audition. And I mean, I auditioned.
And you got Corrie ten Boom.
I got Corrie ten Boom. I mean, like, what?
From 3 lines to the lead.
Yeah. So it was totally the Lord. And it was just, that was I always say that, you know, my hair wasn't white at the time, but I was going up to Mount Sinai. When I came down, it was like this, because I felt the Lord's presence in that offer.
Yeah.
Because here I'm doing what I want to do, something for the Lord as a Christian woman. I want to be in a great production, and then I'm playing a Christian giant.
Yes.
It was like, whoa.
Yeah.
So it really was just,
And then you got this compliment that Corrie ten Boom's personal assistant said that she felt like she was with Corrie all over again.
I don't know. It was really sweet. I got to meet her. It was really
beautiful.
I
I mean, as an actress, there's nothing that kind of warms your heart more than to hear something like that.
It was pretty amazing. Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Does she kind of stay with you, Corrie, now that you've got her words all hidden in your heart? Yeah, we've done Hiding Place twice, and the second time we did Provisions version of it. Yeah, Tim let us shorten it a little bit for us.
Yeah,
and he was very kind to allow us to do that. And then, so it's amazing to me. I wasn't in it, and I didn't direct that one. I had a guest director for that, but it was so. Even with just that, I'm stumbling all over my words. So just hang on. For even though I didn't direct it, I find Corrie's words all the time. Like there'll be a situation that'll happen, and I'll come up with some quote that Corrie, she's amazing.
And
so what a special thing.
I got to meet after I filmed that. I hooked up through Facebook postings or whatever with Corrie's personal assistant, Pam Roswell Moore, and her assistant, because she was getting older, and she had this young woman named Rianne, who is amazing and loves Corrie so much. And so they were here in Chicago at the Billy Graham Center in Wheaton looking up things. I guess there's all kinds of archives of Corrie there. And I got to meet them after I already did. That's too bad, you know, because I met them afterwards. I filmed. But it was such a joy to meet this woman that was Corrie ten Boom's last caregiver before she died.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so Corrie is, her legacy just still goes on, and people, you know, just know me as playing Corrie ten Boom, and that's okay with me, you know. Yeah. But it opened up a lot of other doors in the Christian film industry, which was, you know, my heart's desire.
I love that so much. Now, the other thing you kind of said is that working with Ken Davenport was also kind of a highlight of things that have happened to you so far. So tell us about Ken.
I'm so glad that you know him, and he's a Tony Award-winning producer, a director, and so I knew him when he was just
no, you did not.
An unknown.
Really?
Yeah, it was before any of his Broadway work, and he was auditioning for a interactive play.
Let's tell them who, in case I know I talk about Ken Davenport many times.
I'd love for you to share who he is,
but he's right now, I think he's best known for his producing, right? Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's what his awards have been for.
For those of you who have seen Once Upon an Island, for those of you who have seen Once Upon an Island, he's the producer of that. He's also, he's probably the best known for Kinky Boots, probably. But he's also done a whole slew of things. He's right now in the middle of getting ready to do Joy the Musical, which I want to go to New York and see, which is supposed to be based on Joy. I don't remember her last name, but she's the inventor of the hanger that has the felt on it, and she was like a homeless, almost homeless. She was a single mom, and so I mean, I've been watching that in production for 2 years now, maybe. Yes. And so anyway, he's great. He does he hosts something called Theater Makers for those of you out there who just might want to learn more about how to sharpen your craft.
Yes.
But he does a lot of, hey, if you want to invest in Broadway, come to me. I'll teach you how to do it. And there's a little bit of
amazing.
that. Yeah, he's really great.
So I knew him in 2007, and he was producing, off-Broadway work, and he came to Chicago for the Awesome 80s Prom, which was a really fun, interactive play about a 1989 prom. And I auditioned for him 3 times.
Oh, because you kept trying, or because he kept saying, you got to come back again, we need to see you again?
Yeah, he kept inviting me back again.
Hey, as long as they keep inviting you to come back, there's hope.
I know. Yeah, it was wild. I would tease him about that. But I got cast, and it was cool because my kids were older than at that time. They were 15 and 12, and I got the blessing from my husband to be involved. And it was only...
Thank you, husbands.
Yes. Yes, for sure. And it was only on the weekends, which was cool.
Nice.
So it was Friday and Saturday initially, and then it just was Saturday.
Okay, so were you still in Chicago?
Yes, it was just
so
Chicago.
This happened in Chicago. I didn't know that Ken was ever doing anything around here, so that's pretty fun.
Yeah. And I did it for 15 months.
That is amazing. So is that also one of your favorite things? Because you got to live that role for such a long
it was
time.
Fun because I love comedy.
Yeah.
I love comedy, and I don't really get many comedic roles anymore. There's just not a lot of good comedic roles, I guess I could say that as well. But, I started out in improv. I I love to make people laugh. But I got to play the quirky drama teacher, like the crazy drama teacher at the prom, and it was so much fun. I mean, you really, we just had a ball. And you're interacting with people. They're there for birthday parties and everything. All the music was from the 80s.
Yeah.
It was he did a great job. So
he's talented.
Very talented. And from there, he just really became popular. And I kind of feel like, they call
that was a springboard for him.
Yeah, that, and just I feel like he's like my son or something.
I love it. So do you still talk to him?
A little bit, He'll answer my
Hi,
emails.
Ken. I'm one of your biggest fans.
And I'm called his prom-ma. All the kids, they're prom-ma. Prom-ma. So
I love that so much.
I was the mom. I thought I was old then. Wait, I was the mom of the group, and it was really cool. But I'm really proud of Ken. So he's doing very well.
I love that. I love that when I saw that on your resume, I was like, oh my goodness, we have something in common. Not really. I was not in one of his productions for 15 months, but I did, here's my claim to fame, and put together a seminar where you could sign up for a day of classes or 2 days of classes, and there are all these different things that they had people that were kind of guest teachers, but they asked me to do one on Christian drama and how to write your script in a way that a Christian theater would be interested in it.
Really?
And so I did a PowerPoint and sent it in. So that's my claim to fame.
So you sent it in. Was it shown on a Zoom call or something?
Yeah. So
look at you! Look at her.
So he's always been very, very kind to me. He's just so great. Yeah.
It is so cool.
Yeah.
It is so cool.
There's not a lot of us out there that can weigh in on Christian scripts, right? Unfortunately. So I'm I'm in a small little minority, but I took it and I'm loving the moment. Cherishing
That's
it.
great.
Kind of. Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you. Well, now I have a few questions. How do you feel that the Lord is sustaining the arts right now?
Oh, he is. I mean, I am so impressed with, from when I got into the industry, just how it's grown. Especially the film industry has really grown, and my kudos goes out to the homeschool kids, because a lot of the productions that I've been involved with, a lot of the Christian productions, all the crew are homeschooled.
Really?
Yeah, because they are some of the best people to work with. They are as young as they are, they're just, they're bright, they're kind, they're creative, intelligent.
Hard workers.
Hard workers. I come home from these productions and I'm always bragging to my husband about these kids. And now these kids are becoming directors that, I'm auditioning for. It's
Wow.
pretty wild.
Hope you were kind.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, how did I treat you when you
Yeah.
were younger? I don't.
I will say Christian film productions are just so beautiful. It's not perfect, but there's this spirit. It's the Holy Spirit is there. Usually, there's prayer beforehand, and so what I see though, I just see it growing, and I see the production value getting better and better and better, and these, I call them kids, but they're just going forward in the industry. They're serious. They know their craft, and I've been involved for a long time because of Return to the Hiding Place. It was first shown at one of the first Christian film festivals, what was in San Antonio, and now it's continued. It's called the Christian Worldview Film Festival.
Okay.
And it's every year. It's coming up in a couple of weeks, actually.
Are you going?
I usually go. I'm not going this year. I went last year, but I was teaching even. They invited me to teach. This was, shortly after the movie, and but this is where a lot of the homeschool filmmakers attend. This was because it was one of the first ones, and I highly recommend these festivals. And and I could tell you a lot, the names of them, at a different time.
Okay, so if you guys are interested in that, make sure that you give us a note below so that we can get you that information.
Yeah, because there's numerous ones that have come up since this Christian Worldview Film Festival. Since I was involved, the Kendrick brothers were involved initially.
They paved the way for everybody,
yeah, they
right?
did. But now they're really involved. It's even at their church. It's at the Sherwood Church that funded them and backed them up with Flywheel and their initial movie. So I went last year to Albany, Georgia, which is where the Sherwood Church is, because now they're hosting the Christian Worldview
And you
Film
recognize
Festival.
Everybody in the church because you've seen them all in the movies.
Yeah, truly. But no, it's a big church. But that's just they've got workshops from editing to writing to producing to acting. So it's all, even if you're involved with only theater, they got acting classes and networking classes, and it's just it's kind of like a little bit of what I got involved with, many years ago, called Caritas, except it's just really geared towards filmmaking, but also, of course, acting, which can cross over to theater.
Yeah, no, I love that. I don't really know a lot about the whole film industry at all, and so that's just fascinating to me, and something that I probably would not have even thought about doing, but now with you saying it, I'm like, man, I should go to one of those festivals and just kind of learn and enjoy.
Because we're all artists, and I think it would be a good idea too.
I love that. Can you, if there is somebody out there in our TV land, YouTube land right now, sitting there and just feels discouragement as a Christian and a Christian artist, is there any encouragement you can give to that person? And that can be a lot of different things, right? You and I were talking off camera about going through slumps and different things. So discouragement can come from, am I doing the right thing, or I'm not getting any jobs, or it's too competitive, or just the attacks of Satan. Is there any encouragement you can give to someone?
Yes. Just, without saying, you pray about your desire to the Lord, and try not to, a lot of it is giving it to God,
and not taking it back
Taking it back. And it's funny that you say that, because I remember it came to me earlier today, a skit that I saw way back when at that Caritas, before I was even involved with it, of a little girl. I don't remember it fully, but it basically was this man who was, I guess, portraying God, that she had to keep giving him her toys. And then the next thing I remember is that later on, all these things that she gave him were given back to her and more. And it was just a picture of how, and we're having in my women's Bible study, we're talking about, we're reading Philippians and about letting go. And when you feel discouraged, it's easy just to stay in that discouragement, but praying about it, giving it to God, saying, God, this is my desire. You know what I want. He knows. And then, you do that. But then there's practical things you can do. And that is honing your craft through classes, auditioning for, different productions that are around. But Facebook and some of the groups on Facebook have been very helpful over the years to network, to find out if there's projects coming up. So I really highly encourage that. And more than that is, if you're interested in these festivals, that is just such a wonderful way to network and get encouragement and brainstorm with like-minded believers. So I highly recommend going to these festivals if you can afford it. But there are things online too, that they'll offer, like Zoom calls, and there's even readings, script readings online that you could be invited to. So
there's still jobs out there for Christians right now.
Yeah.
I love when I think about sometimes, because I do have very significant times that overshadowed that I have thought, oh my goodness, I don't know what's going to happen. One of them was last summer. Somebody sent us an anonymous note to the fire marshal, and we had a surprise inspection, and most of the stuff was okay, but then there was something that he started then looking at everything else because he got called in. And I thought we were going to get shut down. I was so discouraged. And that's just one of those times. But every time something like that has happened, I have found that God has quickly come along and made the situation better than I could have ever imagined it to be. For instance, our Chitty Chitty Bang Bang car was not done for opening weekend. And I was getting so discouraged and said, well, I don't even know that we can open the show. And there'd be times that I would be laying on the couch when my husband came home from work, and he's like, what are you doing here? And I'd say, I can't go to rehearsal. I just can't go, and be positive in front of the whole cast. And he'd be like, get up. God called you to do this. Get up and go be strong.
God
now we have made so much income from that Chitty Chitty Bang Bang car because it rents. It goes all over the country.
It does.
And so what I saw as a very distinct time of oppression and discouragement, God just came through and said, but I'm trying to do something for you. I'm trying to do something for you financially for Overshadowed. And it's just every single time. So the verse always comes to me, faithful is he who calleth you, who will also do it. And I think so many times we try to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And if God has called you to do it, so if he's called you to be an artist, you have to let him do it. There are things that we can do and steps that we need to do. We can't just lay on the couch like I was and expect everything to be okay. So you take those steps, that if God wants it, he'll find a way to give it to you.
It's true, and it's just trusting.
It is.
Trusting him.
It is. So now inquiring minds, Ken Davenport, might want to know, what are you doing next in your life?
Okay. What am I doing next in my life? Well, I am working my day job. I do have a day job. That's kind of one of my things that I always say is, like, don't quit your day job in this industry. And that's
good advice.
And fortunately, I've got a wonderful husband that's been the provider, but I've always worked as a barber,
which is what led you to the Lord, right?
Yes, I got saved in barber school.
Yeah, so
I know that wasn't a mistake.
So I was going to say, so even those things that sometimes we forget that God orders all of our steps. So he led you to barber school, which led you to him. So I think that by itself is always an encouraging story to hear about that.
I mean, and I loved it. I've done it for over, we'll just say decades. And
just a few.
Yeah, just a few. And but I still am in the skincare industry. And so the point is, you need a flexible job if you're really serious about doing it, especially with, well, I mean, theater, I think you can have a day job, right? And you could,
Yeah, probably not to be the artistic director or something. You probably couldn't.
No.
But to be an actress or an actor, you could work during the day most of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're really serious about, but things have changed since COVID with self-tapes. So it used to be you really needed a flexible job because you would get called by your agent the day before to go downtown for a 5-minute audition, and you need a job to be able that's flexible enough to be able to do that. So flexibility with a job is good, but you always have to have something to fall back on, and it doesn't mean that you're less than an artist because you have a job. It's just
Thank you for saying that, because I think sometimes feel like if they're going to pursue this, that they are not really worth anything unless they're the Jeremy Jordans of the world, right? That they can just get any part they want and life goes on, and that's a very, very rare thing.
It is
in
a rare
our
thing.
world.
It really is, and I could attest to it with music. People in my family. You need something else to just sustain financially. So you can do. I said you have to do what you have to do what you love to do.
I love that. You have to do what you have to do in order to do what you love to do. I love that.
So, but it's not always possible for everybody, and but anyway, but you do have choices with if you're really going after film nowadays. Film, you're self-taping, so it's easier to have a job that won't take you away during the day. But as far as things coming up, I audition a lot, which I'm very grateful for. I do have I have agents here in Chicago, but I also have an agent in LA, Lottie Jaw. But no, she's a wonderful Christian agent.
Even that, maybe we need to have a whole different YouTube about how you get an agent, because I don't think that's necessarily easy either, right?
It's not. When I first got one, you got to build your resume.
Yeah.
And and then you go and you audition for them. But the Christian film festivals, you get to meet. That's really a good way.
Okay.
Yes, you got to schmooze.
Yeah.
And but
I'm
anyway.
not really great at that.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm really not. I have to really mean it. So I'm not. I don't really.
Not that you don't mean it, but it's just like I guess if you really want it, like if you're really hungry to be an actor,
makes sense.
Then it's
But it's part of it.
It is part of it, but every personality is a little bit different, and but it's been great because I get a lot of auditions, and now you just self-tape, which is a whole nother thing to learn. Now you got to learn not just to act. Now you got to be an editor, a lighting person, and it's
that should have nothing to do with my acting skills, honestly, whether I can make a video or not.
Oh, it takes half a day.
Yeah,
like you gotta light it all, and then you gotta find a reader. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. So, but I audition a lot, and I was asked to be a coach, on-set coach for a project coming up.
Oh, that's fun
for kids.
Yeah. Not my strong suit.
Pray for me.
Yes. Yes, do. Wow. That's,
so I hope that I can, give them what they want, and so that's something new for me.
Okay. So if you could do anything, like be on a television series, travel around, do comedy, be in a movie that you've heard a project coming about, be on Broadway. If you do anything in the world right now, and it would make all the genie in the bottle comes out and says, Mimi, I am going to grant you, what would it be?
Yes, 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 and yes.
Yes. Amen. From your mouth to God's ears.
Please, Lord,
Yes.
please, Lord.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
I love it all. I mean, I
So if
love
you
it
were
all.
watching right now and you think that this is the starring face of the next CSI or whatever it is that your project is doing right now, call me. I can get you in touch with her. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank
It's
you.
been such a delight.
It was fun. It
We
was
might
fun.
have to have you back again. Would you come back again and
Yeah.
we'd have something else that we want to talk about?
I would
Yeah,
love to.
that would be so great. But until next time, this is just me
And me.
talking to you from the wings.